next speaker is going to be Liberte Locke. She's a barista at Starbucks and one of the leading organizers with the I.W.W. Starbucks Workers Union. And she's going to talk about her insights and wisdom from participating in that campaign. So please join me in welcoming Liberte Locke.
First, I wanted to thank Daniel for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm very excited. I love talking about it, about the campaign and also the I.W.W. and letting workers know that it's a union of all trades, all workers, working together to improve all of our lives. And also to thank Blue Stockings for having us. It's always wonderful to be here. And Raymundo for speaking and being with us. I'm hoping to get to know you better. It's really wonderful. The work you do is great. So I guess I want to try to keep it brief because I'm excited about the question and answer as well. And for me to keep it brief is really difficult. I've been working on this campaign for nearly 2 years now. Things have been really insane and really wonderful. And one of the most difficult, no, not one, the absolute most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And that's saying a lot coming from the background that I have of being staunchly working class, growing up homeless at times, living in cars at times, living in over 80 different places, including individual motel rooms before I was age 18. So coming from that background and saying that this is the hardest thing I've ever done really should weigh a lot. But at the same time, I feel it's one of the greatest accomplishments is this process. And specifically talking about, like there's a lot I can say about it and I want to try to keep it brief, but specifically in relation to what Daniel was speaking of in regards to the recession, when they officially declared it a recession in the US, Starbucks' reaction, like many companies, was to slash hours, and when I say slash hours, I mean we're talking about a workforce that's already begging for hours, begging and pleading for hours. When you're hired at Starbucks, you sign a piece of paper saying that you understand that you will be guaranteed between 0 and 40 hours a week, which is like being guaranteed not having a job. So, like from week to week, 1 week you could have 30 hours, next week you can have 5, and you're supposed to support your family and continue with your goals in life. So when I say slashing hours, I mean closing stores, massive layoffs that they didn't even call layoffs. Layoffs where people were fired and told they were being laid off and denied severance pay, and publicly they would say it's because of this, that, or the other reason that they're let go and it's not the recession, etc. And we're talking about a corporation that's not in the red. There's a lot of companies that are in the red and they're closing stores and locations and being bought off, being sold to other companies. Starbucks is not in the red. Howard Schultz is doing just fine. He's the CEO for Starbucks. And so considering all that, like with all the slashing of hours and everything, my feeling was immediately concerned that we were all going to lose our jobs. Like before it was, I'm going to lose my job because I'm a union organizer and that's what they do. And then after the announcement of the recession was, I'm going to lose my job because we all are. And I felt that people were going to be much more timid about joining the union because part of the campaign is trying to get members. And my feeling was people wouldn't want to join now because they're more frightened than ever of losing their jobs because there's no work out there. Unemployment is definitely on the rise. It's the worst it's been in years. So I thought that people wouldn't want to jump on board with it. But a lot, like what was surprising, but then thinking about it shouldn't be that surprising, is the stress of it and how painful it is to go from living in poverty to it actually being worse. And actually feeling it get worse. Like when they announced the recession, I was like, well, nothing's going to change for me. Like, I've been broke my whole life. Like, it's going to change for all these other people. But it actually did get harder. And living in the most expensive city in the country, and highest rents in the country, and things like that, it really did get harder. And with it getting harder, my coworkers and I, we began to talk more, and we began to really look out for each other, and we began to ask how each other's families are doing in this time, and knowing that each other's partners are being laid off, and knowing that each other's kids or their funding's being cut from their schools and they're losing out on a great deal. Having half my coworkers that actually managed to get to go to school being told that they cannot continue to their next semester because of the raise in tuition, because of cuts in financial aid and grants being cut. So considering all that, at the time when things are worse and you think that someone's going to really want to hold on to their job and beg to stay, everyone jumped on the union. Everyone's like, oh, I need to stand up to this. I can't deal with these cuts in hours. Why are we paying the price? Why is it up to us to suffer additionally so that Howard Schultz can make sure that he's getting a little bit more profit this year than he was the year before, or so that he can stay at level like last year? And understanding that the very basic principle of why are the people at the bottom experiencing additional pain on top of what we'd already been dealing with for years, so the people at the top that don't even feel this recession, they don't even feel it. They think of it in numbers, and they know they're losing money and this, that, and the other, or are they losing money? But Howard Schultz is eating just fine. His multiple homes are doing just fine. His kid is going to be able to complete however many years of education that she wants to have for the rest of her life, and be provided for, while my coworkers are being laid off and their children aren't allowed to get, proper education. They're not getting health care. People's hours were cut so severely that the very few people that actually were insured through the company, so many people lost their health insurance. I'm one of the very few people that didn't lose my health insurance. So I guess, I know this is a long story short, because I want to get on to the questions again, but it's very interesting to me and hopeful of society at large to realize that this recession has made people work together. The way the Depression made people work together and create ways to find food and create ways to create community and take care of each other and each other's families. And I see that happening now. And membership within Starbucks Workers Union specifically, and the I.W.W. in general, has risen since the recession was announced. And I just think that that's a good sign that people, in the face of everything, and knowing that you lose this job today, it's not just losing your job, it's possible unemployment for another year. So knowing that, and people decide to stand up against their bosses and stand up against their landlords and stand up against everything, and fight for the lives that we deserve, really means a lot to me, and it's really hopeful. So that's what's been going on with the campaign right now in regards to the recession.